Y'all, welcome to episode 187 of Consignment Chats. We have not done one of these type episodes in a while, I feel. This is one of our favorites, our spotlights. We have a friend who lives close to Samantha's neck of the woods. So, Samantha, I'm going to let you take this over.
I got a fellow Youper, guys. A fellow Youper. You thought I was the only one. I got one. So, Darcy lives about 45 minutes away from me, and he came to one of my meetups. We went to an auction together last week, and I just love hanging out with him and his story. So I just wanted to bring him on here so everybody else could hear about him. He does have a YouTube channel. So before we get started, everybody go over, search for Podunk Picker. The link's below too. Make sure you go and subscribe to him. Especially he shows all the garage sales and estate sales and all that fun stuff. So
all that Darcy, stuff I love.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Darcy. I'm Podunk Picker. And where does Podunk Picker come from? Well, I've always sold stuff and flipped it or whatever, even before the internet. You know, I'd buy something and then, sell it to someone else. But then, in the early 2000s, I got on eBay and took that passion and also put it on the internet and started doing some stuff there on the internet. I've always sold stuff. I've always gone to garage sales. As I posted something on my Facebook today, I've always been, I grew up going to garage sales. My mom would take me, and we all loved going to garage sales. I mean, we would jump out of the car and scream garage sale. And these people thought we were probably on some kind of drugs. I don't know, but I always did that. The other thing that, when it came to the doing online, the YouTube part and doing this more than just a hobby. So let me just say that first, more than just a hobby. I worked in government for 20 years. I worked as a city manager. And that, I worked some tough communities, and the UP is a place that can be difficult to work as a city manager. So I was out in the market, I was looking around, and then I decided, I can try to do this more than, half the full time, and maybe I got to do something on the side. And then one day I've been watching picking videos, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. I can do this. And the thing that what annoyed me more than anything else, and it wasn't that they weren't good at what they did, but they picked video games and stuff like that. And nobody was doing the stuff I'm doing. Nobody picked the stuff I picked up. I've sold chainsaws and shipped
what
them.
What did you show me the other day? We went to that auction and the ore brackets.
Door locks.
Door locks for a rowboat.
Wait. I said I wasn't going to interrupt, but already here I go. You guys got to tell everybody what a Youper is and what the UP is if they don't know.
Well, the Youper, they say the Upper Peninsula of Michigan is different than the rest of the state of Michigan. The UP of Michigan is a unique place. As I work at the bridge, when people from Ohio come through, I say, "Oh, did you get to check? You come in to check out what you lost?" Because in the war between Michigan and Ohio that didn't have a shot fired, they got Toledo and we got the UP. They lost out. Actually, probably Wisconsin lost out because they're connected to Wisconsin, and the state of Michigan wasn't connected until 1957 when the Mackinac Bridge was built. So basically, a lot of what people call Youpers are residents of the UP. Now, then there's the definition about people who've lived up there and are born, they're born in a cabin somewhere in the middle of the woods. Those people think that they're more than other people that just transplanted. Now, I went to both schools up here, Lake State and Lake Superior State University in Northern, and have lived up here a large part of my life, off and on. And
are you originally a troll?
I grew up in downstate near Grand Rapids, so I'm a troll. But I was told by people who are Youpers that I'm more Youper than some people who live here, because I have jumped out of my car. Somebody hit a deer. I may be in a suit and tie, and I'm going to say, "Are you okay?" Then the second question is, "Do you want it?"
Yep. Yes.
And I'm ready. I don't care. I'm going to put it on the vehicle. I'm going to take it home. We're going to have venison for a few months.
Yes.
And I ice fish and do all that stuff. And my wife says that when I get around people with a Yooper accent, I come home and I'm talking. Well, who are you around today? Probably more so away from the bridge when you get over to like we used to live in Gladstone. And I came back one day and she said, "Where were you?" I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You're doing it." I said, "Doing what?" "You have a Yooper accent today." I said, "Well, I was hanging out with, the guys down at the shop and maybe I picked up something. I don't know."
What does the Yooper accent sound like? Does it sound like Canadian almost?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, if you live in the Eastern UP, you're going to say "A" because of the Canadians.
Yep.
Because that really, shines out there in accent wise. When we first, my wife is not familiar with the Eastern UP as much as I was because I went to school over here. So she had lived in Marquette when she went to school at Northern. We went to the store. And when we first moved back to this region of the UP, and I said, "Did you hear the accent?" Because the young lady at the store we went to, she said "a boot," like Canadian "about," and had some of the Canadian accent accentuated in her dialect. And people don't catch that. So the whole UP is a little bit different than different parts of it are a little bit different.
Okay.
So the Eastern UP is probably more attuned to the Eastern Canada or Western Canada, and maybe a little bit of the French influence there too. Because if you see a lot of the towns and things.
For our friend Carmen, I have to ask: is progress something you say anywhere in the Upper Peninsula, or is that sheerly Canadian instead of?
That's
progress?
Surely Canadian. Yeah, A
Okay,
is they've always everybody in the UP says A, and it doesn't even. I guess it's an ending to a sentence.
Yes, it's the period at the end of every
so that's how kind of so a little bit of so I got online and started selling stuff, getting really heavy into it and doing it, trying to make it to pay the bills and things like that, but I've always done it, even when I worked in city government. One example is when I worked in Indiana. They were going to throw all these plastic water meters out. I said, "Why are you doing that? We can sell them on eBay." Well, we tried, and I sold the first one for $25. They're going to throw them in the dumpster. And they made a few $1,000s out of that. We sold a lot of them. But when I went to Wisconsin and lived in Amory, we did the same thing. But I had this project to bring electronic read water meters. And in my presentation that I gave to the city council, the finance committee, it said, "Used water meters, $15,000. And they're like, "What are you going to do with those?" I said, "We're going to sell them on eBay." "Are you serious?" I said, "Yeah, I did it in Indiana." And we made about $15,000 to $16,000. People would call City Hall and say, and some ladies would come out, "You got a call. Somebody wants to buy a bunch of water meters." And I sold a pallet of them to somebody in Washington State. And why would somebody buy those? Well, in places like Texas and out west, trailer courts or trailer parks, whatever you want to call them, they're required to sub-meter, and they need a meter. And I had one guy who sent me a message. He said, "Does it work?" I said, "Yeah, it works." I said, "It may not be accurate." "Great, I want it." And then he bought it because he didn't want it to be accurate because he's paying the bill and it's going to get, 2 gallons for every 5 or whatever. So I did that. And then when I went to
water meter, like is a water meter like what I have on my house, like the electronic one?
Yeah.
Except it just counts the flow, like a plastic water meter just counts.
Yeah, they're the same thing. Yeah, but these actually weren't even designed. The city had in the 80s, the little town I worked for in Indiana had bought them, and they weren't even regular water meters. They were used in irrigation in South America, so they weren't even right. They were 10, 15 gallons off and every 1,000. So we made a lot of money once we replaced them. But then I came back to the UP and I worked at a city, and that didn't turn out so well. But when I first got there, they're taking me the tour, and public works director says, takes me out up to this upper level for the electric department. And I said, "What's all this stuff?" He goes, "This is stuff we got to sell." I said, "What do you mean?" "It's been sitting here. We just got to get rid of it." I said, "Well, there's about $30,000 sitting here." I got the council to convince to do it. They were a little reluctant because one of them said, "Well, what if somebody local wants to buy it?" I said, "They'll go on Gov Deals and buy it." And they did. And guess what we got? Over $30,000 in all that junk. And one of these guys came from like Oregon, and they bought this. It's called a derrick truck. They use it to pick up telephone poles and stuff and dig the holes. This thing was a wreck. and they were going to drive it over the mountains. Well, I mean, I drove it around the lot, and I got out of it. I said, I'm not driving that thing. And they drove it to Oregon. And, a guy came from Milwaukee and bought a truck, no brakes. He was going the other side of Milwaukee, closer to Chicago. We didn't care. $1,200. They would have got $500 for scrap, probably. So I've used some of this knowledge and stuff to sell things, not just for myself, but also for professional. And it's way out of the box thinking. I've thought at one time, that I maybe should try to go get a job with two of these companies, because I know them both. The companies that sell to municipalities, the ability to sell their items online and get rid of them. And, whether I should go out and maybe teach them how to do it. I taught my staff how to do it. When I worked for the city of St. Ignace, we sold, they were cleared by the prosecutor, firearms. We sold them on GovDeals, on Gunbroker, which is run by the NRA.
Yes.
And we made enough money off those firearms. Some of them are 30 years old, to replace every service pistol for the officers. And it cost the city nothing. They made more than they purchased them new.
That's awesome.
And so part of that was, you got this resource there, and you were not, using it, and you should sell it. And those are things that I just did on my own because I knew how to do them, and I taught some of the people how to do it. And it was a good thing to do. I mean, it's good steward of the public resources. Now,
this is amazing. We've never had anybody with this kind of story, with this kind of, I'm going to call it like a sourcing strategy.
Right?
Really?
Well, one thing, my son said I should do a video on purchasing for municipalities. Because some people do that. We had people that would buy a pallet of stuff and take it. And, you can do that, and you could get electronics to sell on eBay. But a lot of those things, especially here in Michigan, because most cities are broke, you don't want to buy that stuff at all. It's junk. It really is junk. But sometimes it isn't junk. And so you have to determine what kind of stuff. Because I bought stuff from government auctions. I bought my son a bike once. And then, I have bought stuff to flip. But, the thing about buying from a municipality is that you can get stuff that is pretty valuable. Like before I left the city of St. Ignace, I was trying to work on putting together an eBay store for the city. And they had a 1960s complete. It was an evidence kit. It did fingerprinting. It did all kinds of stuff. It was complete in the box. I wanted that so bad because I knew that it was none of them on eBay, and I wanted to sell it. The other thing they had is in the box. So in the 1960s, cities got all kinds of grant money because, we're going to get bombed by Russia. And they're going to wipe us out. And so we got to be able to tell if there's radiation. The fire department, when they moved their new building, had these brand new plutonium detectors in the box. They'd never been opened. We opened one. I'm like, they're like new, 1960s. The other thing because the cities used to get government surplus stuff, not as much anymore, but some things. The police department had this one item that was a projector. It said stamped 1946 on it. They never opened it. They got it and never opened it. It was brand new 1946. And those are things that you get those out in the market, on a government auction, you'll get those for nothing because the people who are there are buying cars, they're buying equipment, they're buying stuff for scrap. They're not buying that kind of stuff. So if you want to go out and look at that, you can find some good deals. On those.
And the people putting them on the website are like, well, we're just trying to clean out the basement. Like
they're required to, because some states have a requirement that you got to sell it for $1. Let me tell you, to pay somebody $35 an hour union wages with benefits to post them for $1, it just ends up in the garbage. It should, because it doesn't make sense. That's why they put a pallet of it out there.
I just want to say, Jason Mills, if you are watching right now, because he's like a sleeper watcher. He watches our stuff, but he doesn't always comment. Jason, come on. But he works for a municipality in New York, and I believe that he has also bought electronics and stuff off the site as well as listed them for his city. So I want to hear a little bit more about that from you, Jason. So if you're watching, comment, tell us about it.
Well, the thing about that, the other reason that I wanted to do YouTube videos is that I tend to source differently than a lot of them. So a lot of them just go to garage sales or estate sales. I have a video on my channel where I went picking. The term really is called curb crawling. You go during citywide cleanup and you pick stuff up.
Yes.
I used to help in all the cities that had a spot where some cities they would just put it on the curb and the DPW would come by and pick it up. I would help with that. I'd get out of the office and go out there, get my boots on, and go help them because I was picking while I was working. And then when I worked in Wisconsin, we did that, and they would bring it out there. And I got a 1950s chainsaw. I don't even remember the brand. It was one that I'm not familiar with. This thing was heavy. Even if it didn't, I tried to get it to run. Even if you could get it to run, you didn't need to. This thing was so heavy, you just throw it at the tree and it'd probably fall over. That's when I was kind of doing it as a fun thing to do. Well, I shipped that thing into Sweden, and it didn't run, and I made $400 on it.
Nice.
Wow.
That was crazy. We lived in Indiana. The neighbor had a walnut tree, and I wanted to see if I could sell them, and they just fell down. The little green still on them. I put them in a flat rate box. I sold them to somebody down south, and I got $20 for them. So I said, well, if that worked, I'll go get some pine cones. Pick the pine cones out every yard. Sold those for $20. I'm like, who cares? You know, it doesn't matter. It'll sell. So I've gone out picking.
We recently cut down a birch tree, and I cut strips of the birch off after it had sat all winter and stuff. I cut them off this spring, and this is my reminder to list those because I have bags of dried birch bark. I need to.
There's a company in Escanaba that takes that birch and they cut them up into disc like this, and they have a whole company to do it. They sell them to Hobby Lobby.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. They sell them Hobby Lobby. That's a kind of a cool business. So I've gone out picking, the one video I have on there, I found a Wii in the garbage, a Wii U. Somebody threw that out. I got $160 for that. They threw it out. I bought a power supply and whatnot. I went picking out this spring in Gaylord. They do Gaylord, Michigan, which is in northern Michigan. They have citywide cleanup every May, and people put it on their calendar, and they go out there and they pick stuff. I met a guy last year when I was out there. He had a 2500 truck, I think. Had a trailer. The truck was full. It had a top bar on it. He had a 2-axle trailer. I went up to him and I said, "Are you picking out of this pile?" "Yep," because there's like etiquette. You don't go in there and steal somebody else's stuff when they're picking. And but I looked in there and it was full. Furniture, everything. And I just brought my Honda, which was stupid. I didn't know any better. I was trying to save money on gas. I passed furniture that was better than I got in my house. And so this year I went down with my son. He did some recording. We haven't put it out yet. It's not as interesting because it's very hard to record that kind of environment because you're getting in and out like a garbage picker, like a garbage hauler. And it's hard to pay attention to that because it's a competitive thing. Because there are these people who drive around and they cut cords off and they take everything and they throw it in their truck because they're going to the scrapyard. And so you are competing with them, and they don't understand that the 1980 VCR is worth more than the 1 cent you're going to get for the cord.
Right.
Yes.
Even broken, you'll get $100. And so they don't understand that. They don't care because most of the time they get cash. But now the scrapyards have changed and they give you a check, and so there's a record of it. So it's not free and clear anymore. But so it's very difficult to record that. As Samantha said, I went to an auction. We went to an auction last week. I love going to auctions. I've always gone to auctions. At one point, when we lived in Wisconsin, my wife said, "Do you want to build a house or do you want to go to auctions?" So I stopped going to auctions for a while. Then when we got the house, which
I thought you were going to say, so I was like, I'm going to the auctions.
No. Because we had a regular Thursday night auction that's great over there. I still follow the guys, Robbie's Auctions Facebook page, and he's a great guy. I've gotten some great stuff there. But when I say we got a house, somebody I knew through the city ran a nursing home, and we moved a house from 1.8 miles from one side of the town to the other. This house was about 60 tons. It was 60 feet wide and probably 100 and something feet long, and it had no basement. It was just on slab on grade, which is more difficult to move, but we moved it. And
All right, so I
we
just
put it on-
need to say how weird this is. That this is the second spotlight we've done where somebody moved a house. Second
yes, it was.
one.
Yeah, and it was a process. Well, the
Michelle,
mayor said to
yeah.
me, well, this is different than your other
Oh,
guy probably.
yes.
The mayor said, we got to make a deal out of it because they want to make sure that, they want to make something special out of it because the city's involved. The township, the town helped us. We had one of their guys out there to help with traffic. The police are out there. The sheriffs came. We had all these people involved. The power company, the cable company, all were out there. And to be honest, a regular person to go move a house doesn't have a clear idea what he's going to do because they'll say, I get it for $1. But do you know all the other things you have to do? And if you don't understand how government works, that's very challenging for you to do. And so I did all that, the planning, everything. And we moved that to my house. And people lined up along the street to watch the house go by, like a parade. They did. And it was on the front page of the paper.
Oh, I bet.
Is that the house you're in right now?
No, that's in Wisconsin.
Okay.
I wish I could have kept that. That was a beautiful house. We had redone it. Had my dream kitchen in there. Had a bar in the basement that was 250 square foot of bar area. When we inaugurated it, we had 60 people over. And then for probably a year and a half, I would do, we called it the Lincoln Street Bar or something like that. And East Bar. And I had happy hour once a month. And about 30 people come over.
So I don't know if you guys know this, but in Wisconsin, there's virtually no drinking age as long as your parents give you permission.
Mm-hmm.
And you can have an actual serve alcohol and charge for it bar in your basement, like in your house. You have to have proper signage and permits and whatnot, but it is like the most lenient place to open a bar.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
all right.
Yeah, because where I used to work, I would approve the liquor licenses. With the help of the clerk, we'd sign them or whatever. Sometimes I'd have to sign the temporary ones. But that was just another thing. So to be thinking about picking, that was another thing where I picked the house and moved it. Now it costs $40,000 to move a house. And not everything, the front, there was like this faux brick that we put on stone. I got that at an auction. Doors I used downstairs. I got some of those at an auction. What else did I purchase at an auction? I purchased a dishwasher, which was a bad deal. Don't purchase a used dishwasher. Go buy a new one. That was a bad idea. It had an error code after we installed it. Ended up getting a new dishwasher anyways. The bar top I got, there's a guy that he had a portable sawmill north of Amory, and he had all this lumber. Now all this wood came from, he got a lot of it from the city. They cut a tree down, he'd take it. He turned it into rough sawn. So I got this for about $20. I got this 10-foot piece of rough sawn pine, and that's what I made the bar top out of. It even had the animal bug holes in it. And then when my friend was helping me install it, he said, why don't you on the edge of it, go out in your yard, make up some mud and put it on there. And then when you varnish it, it'll look unique. So I did that and it turned out awesome. And people would come over and go, what is this? Is this the bark? I said, no, it's mud. It dried on there and I varnished, or I put the polyurethane over it. And it was so cool. Something that was, and a lot of things I tried to recycle as much as possible. So there was one thing that used to be in my bar. I got it for about $50 at an auction in town, same one I always went to. And it was an old style, I think it was old style light or something. The sign was. We had it in a box for years, and I decided this last summer I sold it, and that was about a year ago from today. And I put it up for sale, and it was tough. That thing had some sentimental value, but I knew it was worth a lot because it was from the 1970s, and it worked. Mm-hmm. So a guy messaged me about it, and he was going to send me an offer. And so he sent me an offer on that neon sign. And I went in the other room. I said, I got an offer. I told my wife, I said, I'm going to accept it because it hadn't sold. I had it for a lot more than that. And I said, but I'm going to accept it because this guy collects these and he's going to appreciate it. And so I sold it to him. And then I made a crate to put it in, which I didn't pay for a lot of the materials. I went out to the city's brush pile and found some wood, pallets, and I used some of those to make the pallet. And then I shipped it to him. Now this thing, there's no way it would broke. One little piece broke in shipment from FedEx. This guy went and got it fixed. And then he sent me photographs of it on his wall. Now, why I tell you that story, I have another one about a chainsaw too, where a guy bought a chainsaw for me. It didn't work, but he collected them. And for a half hour before he bought it, we talked about chainsaws on the eBay messaging system. And what I really think, is that it's more than just, people say, well, here's the thing, I'm going to list it and I'm done with it. The fact that the things that you sell sometimes have a story. So I had a 1940s Beechcraft manual. Now I found that in a box last year during citywide cleanup in Gaylord. Found a lot of great stuff in there because they just threw everything out. I ended up selling to a guy. It sold pretty quick for about $120. So I thought, well, I got these other ones. I got these other 3 I got because the lady who owned where I got these from, the lady who had passed away or whatever, was instrumental in women's aircraft being pilots in Michigan. We read some of the stuff. We got all the stuff still. We got to figure out how to sell that ephemera because it's very unique. So I sent a message. I said, I got these Piper Cub ones. Are you interested? And I told him what manuals I had and everything. And he said, no, I'm not really interested. He goes, I was interested in this one because I have the plane. And then he go proceed to say, and I know where this plane that went with this manual is. He said it's in the Detroit metro area. It doesn't work anymore. He said there were 700 of these made and only 200 of them still fly.
Wow.
So the things we sell have memories, they have stories to them. They're not just, I don't know if you sell on Bonanza. I know everybody makes fun of it. I haven't sold anything in a long time. It's just because eBay,
it's easy. It's a quick link.
It's easy to list. Yeah. So I went to a garage sale. It was almost a Pickford area, which is in the UP, and went down this dirt road, and they had this sculpture for $2. And I said, did somebody make this thing? It was 2 naked people kissing. It was from the early 80s, 70s. And I said, did you make this? She goes, no, my aunt gave it to my mother. I said, they gave your mom a naked picture of people kissing? Yeah. She didn't really want it anywhere. That's why I got $2 on it. I sold it for $50 on Bonanza. 50.
Nice. Okay, so
now,
I watched you buy some stuff. Some stuff was super cool. Like you got some awesome deals. Some stuff, your wife and I were sitting there scratching our heads. So my first question, what are you doing with this framed wheat that you got? Like
the framed wheat? I'm gonna probably just list it on eBay and other.
And I'm probably gonna buy it because I love it.
So, what I was gonna do is I was gonna make a post where I put on there that some people bring home the bacon, I bring home the wheat.
Oh, that's funny.
But I didn't do that. I got it for a couple bucks. I didn't pay very much for it. Nobody wanted it.
Right.
And I was standing there where it was at. And so I ended up bidding on it because I was bidding on a Scrabble game that I wanted to keep. But I'm going to list that.
That was another one. You got that Scrabble game. Great Scrabble
I paid more
game.
in retail.
You paid quite a bit for that Scrabble game, and it was one of the ones that had the swivel board,
the plastic
right?
ones, the swivel, yes.
Yeah. I've parted them out. You could still make your money back. I've parted those out. However,
I'm not gonna sell that one.
He sits down and he goes, "Look what I got, honey," and she goes, "I don't even like Scrabble. What are we gonna do with that?"
I grew up with one like that.
That is my one auction thing that my son and I talk about constantly is do you ever see the pedestal Scrabble tables?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
They're expensive and they're rare. We bought one at auction for like $4, right? Nobody wanted this thing. We were so excited. And the auction guy picks it up and he drops it.
You can't make any money except for parts.
And he damaged it. He damaged it. And so they were like, "Oh, do you still want it?" And I was like, "No, that's okay." The damage wasn't like severe or anything. We still talk about it to that day. Remember that Scrabble thing? We were such idiots.
We not only could we have had it, we could have had it for free.
I
Right.
know.
Yes,
I
it's
know.
gonna have a great.
So I got a question for you because I am loving all these things that you do that are like you're saying you started this because you realized the videos you were watching were things that none of them were like what you pick when you go out there. And the
Yep.
things you're talking about are things I would walk right past. So I'm going to go with the question of what won't you pick? Is there anything that you're like, absolutely not? Nope, not me.
Well, I've sold anything and everything. One thing I always pick up is coffee makers. Now, when I was in college, I started collecting them. And at one point, my collection was displayed at the library when we lived in Amory because I had over 100 of them.
Wow.
I know a lot about different kinds of coffee makers. I still have several, but I always pick them up because I know what they're going to go for. Now, at the auction we were just at, they went for about $30, which was way too high to flip. And a couple of them weren't worth that much. Things I won't pick up, I don't know. I've kind of sold everything. You have one?
We've only hung out together the one time. But you said you don't really like to pick up Halloween stuff because they had that.
I don't really like Halloween stuff.
Yeah, they had that really cool kit to make a big mansion, like a playhouse.
Yeah, and I don't really like the holiday stuff. It sells. I have some on there, and it's sitting there for a while, and some of it sells for a while quickly. But I don't get excited about the holiday stuff. You have a limited window to sell that stuff, and I know they say it sells all year long. Really?
It does.
It does. We're here to tell you.
Yeah, but I don't have room to store that.
Don't
stuff.
convince him because we're gonna go to more stuff together, and I'm gonna get all the holiday stuff. And
Okay.
he's gonna get all the tools and stuff. It's gonna work out great.
If it's really old, I'd pick it up.
Right.
I've shipped out some, the glass ornaments. They scare me, But the way I package them, you could throw them 50 yards down the line and they wouldn't break. So that's a good thing. So other things, I've got some things that I'm not going to pick up anymore. I used to pick up typewriters, and I used to sell them pretty good. I can't give them away.
Really?
Can't give a typewriter away. And like IBM ones, could sell them in a flash. Can't reduce the price down because the shipping's too high. So I'm not going to pick those up anymore. I'm done with typewriters. I do like selling them, but I'm not that. And the other thing I won't sell anymore is IMAX if I don't have the original box. Another sourcing place. So when I set up.
Wait, why not the IMAX without the original box?
You know how hard they are to ship? You got to have a huge box, and there's this void. I found every piece of foam. I went down to the furniture place that sells carpet, hoping to find foam to shove in there. I used every egg carton we had, to fill in the void. They must have found it, but it was broken. I sold that for $100 and something, and it was broke plus shipping.
Wow.
But the box on the IMAX is it's formed, it's got that curve. So, but the box alone, I got one from iMac here, and I haven't thrown it out. And I won't, if I see them along the road, I will slam on the brakes, cause an accident, because they're worth $50-$60 the box alone for Apple products. So are Lego boxes are very valuable because people want those. So I set up an e-waste pickup thing here in town. They never had one. I worked with Eagle, which is the regulatory agency that's environmental for Michigan. And I set it up, and I went out and volunteered. But I also was there to pick stuff. So I got a whole bunch of everything with fruit on it. I put in my vehicle. And it sat in my garage for a while. And then I listed some of them in a year ago in January. And I'm selling these things like crazy. I mean, I'm getting $200 for 5 broken laptops. And I plug them in, and if they power up, I show them pictures or video.
Right.
Of the computers. I had some iMacs in there, and none of them worked. They all had either they were iPass locked or they were just non-functional. But for parts, they were available because the screens were in great shape. But I got some other stuff in there. I got a 800 megahertz like scanner that you would listen to you could listen to police channels and things. That scanner. I sold that for $300 to somebody in Arizona, and I got it for free. I was trying to do it last year, do the e-waste thing, but then they had this company that they also sell the products, and so they picked through the stuff, and so I didn't go because I didn't want to go there if I couldn't pick anything. If they were going to say you can't do that, And I'm like,
Right.
okay, because I'm going to help people take stuff out of their cars. And, I want to find the person who's got the, IBM green screen, full computer from 1980, because that's around here in this area. That stuff's around. You'll find it.
Mhm.
The
Yep.
keyboard alone can sell for 500 to maybe 1,000, depending on it.
Wow.
Because the old clicky keyboards, young people want them. I brought a couple home, and my son wanted them. I said, I got to sell that.
So you work part-time in the summer, and then
I also do consulting. I also consult
Okay.
for the Economic Development Alliance. We had a couple meetings today.
Oh, yes.
I do that.
Okay.
And I really think the social media part is another job too. It doesn't pay anything.
Absolutely.
Yet. Yeah, it's another job. Yeah. I just finished my 3rd video in a series on this estate sale my sister and I went to. That was amazing. Probably the best one of the year. And that's what I called that. And then there was in video 2, which I just did this weekend, I think. There was a whole table full of Tupperware. So you all know who the person likes Tupperware, Commonwealth Picker. So I put him in there a little bit and, tagged him and all that because I do pick up a little bit of Tupperware and I've had good success with it. Do I make a ton of money? No, but I usually get it out of the free box.
Right.
So
yes.
I'm going to make
Sell
money.
those lids. Yep.
Yeah, the lids and everything. Yeah. I had those lids that go to the tumblers. I got those in a it was a person called me and sent me a message and said my dad had passed away. It was an employee that I worked with, and we didn't terribly get along when I was the boss, but we were cordial when I went over there. And I did a private pick and I got all the stuff, and there were those lids in there, and those lids sold fast. Boom, the lids for those tumblers. I couldn't believe how quickly they sold. That was crazy. And then I had the tumblers with it, so they were even worth more.
Yeah.
I don't remember if I sold on Poshmark or whatever. Oh, this is another thing. I do a little bit of consigning, and I only do it. So far, I've done it for friends, family first, and then I had a guy that I went to go pick some stuff from him. He was giving away, I think, and he said, "Well, do you?" No, he bought a grill from me. He bought a grill from me, and he was up by the casino here in town, which isn't that far away, and he wanted me to deliver it. So I put it in my trailer and I delivered it there, and he paid me like $20 to deliver it. Couple miles. Well, then we started talking, and he said, I got these John Deere Erdl diecast, and would you do a consignment? So I did 50%, and he had some other stuff in there. He had Detroit Tigers stuff, which I'm never going to buy that stuff ever again unless they go to the World Series, because I can't give it away.
Really?
But I can sell Green Bay Packer stuff all day long. People buy that. And Lions right now because they're hot. So I talked to the guy, and we consigned it, and I sent him the payment over Venmo. We did 50%. And I sent him links to stuff. And then my parents had me give me some stuff, and some of it, my dad, he was selling some stuff on eBay, and he said, "Oh, this is how much it's worth." And we look it up, and I go, "That's worth $5." I said, we were at my sister's. And I said, "She got a dumpster over there. Why don't you go put it in there? That's worth put it in there. It's not worth anything." So I took some stuff from my parents, and I sold them, and they made a little bit of money. But one thing that was in there was a World War II bayonet, German bayonet. It was an officer's dress bayonet.
Wow.
And I had that on eBay. Etsy took it off because they don't do Nazi stuff. Mercari said it was a weapon. Well, I guess. So that's why I learned a little about Mercari. But then I put it on Poshmark, and they never took it off. And I eventually sold that on Poshmark. And so people are like, "Oh, you hear about all these podcasts, all these videos? They just sell clothes over there. They sell clothes over there." No, they don't. They sell bayonets. They sell. Yeah. They sell. I got an auction. I got a weed whacker with all these accessories and everything. It didn't work. The gas tank was broke and it cracked. And I'm gassing it. It's pouring all over the side of me. And I was like, "Why does it smell like gas?" I saw the gas stringing out. So I bought a new tank. I was going to put it on there, and it didn't fit. So I said, "Screw it. I'm going to take the recoil off." So I took the top of the recoil, the cord pull, and I put that on Poshmark, Mercari, eBay, and Facebook Marketplace. It sold for full price on Poshmark.
Yeah.
So I list everything and anything on Poshmark.
Amen.
And people are like, and that's what I sell. I mean, I sell strange things. I had a little bitty Bible that was about that big. It wasn't a Bible. It was the Key of Life. It was an 1887 prayer book, Catholic prayer book. Very cool. I got that at the Salvation Army in the Sioux. They give away books, Bibles. They give them away. They don't hymnals. I've made lots of money just going in their free box, and they give them away. A lot of the thrift stores around here give away the Bibles, and I'm making $100 off them, 10, 12. And people say, "Oh, you shouldn't do that. You know, people might need it." If you're going to proselytize to people and tell them about Jesus, you're not going to. That's not going to happen in a thrift store in a free box. You're going to talk to them and build a relationship with them. That's not how it's going to happen. So, and I'm not hurting the charity at all, because you know they know people take them and they want people to take them because they just decide not to sell them. So I don't feel bad about that. The estate sale I went to and I saw in the video with my sister, I haven't even listed those. I got those all for free. I said, we'll take those. You know, that's
so
fine.
that was
free Bibles. So I took them.
That was my next question is,
I love selling Bibles. They sell easy. I just sold 3 this week.
I also love religious books and things like that. So yeah, totally in that camp. How big is your money mountain? Your death pile, as others call it.
Oh, there's a lot in there. I haven't picked hardly at all. Going to that auction was one. I went to there was a garage sale here in town. I got the first one, I got something. I got I picked up this for $1. This is a ricer.
Ricer.
It's a vintage one. It's a Arto #2. So it's marked. It's 1930s. And I haven't listed it yet. Got that for $1. And then we went over to, there's a flea market that's every week here in town. They don't even charge the vendors. The chamber does it. They also do one up at Castle Rock, which is a tourist trap area. And they don't charge the vendors there either. And so I was in there, and Alfred was with me, and he picked up some Hot Wheels. Some that weren't, like, I wanted like $1 million for when we asked him the price. But there was a Polaroid for $5. I sold that last week for $35, $34.99. Sold fast. Nice. In the garage, lots of stuff. I took some over to the local thrift store, Hope Chest, and took in my Explorer. But a lot of it I enlisted. And here's why. You know, Samantha talks about what's your money mountain.
Right.
In one of my videos, I get I fill my vehicle, the Ford Explorer. You can front seat, everything. You can see in the video. Barely closed the lid. Paid $98. 2 things paid for all of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So everything else is revenue. So most of my experience is I fill the car. In my latest video, 2 items paid for everything I bought at the estate sale. Until the rest of it, some of it's still sitting out there. I walk by it.
It's not going to pay for anything because it's not listed.
Are you a one-man show? Like, are you the only one who photographs, lists, processes?
I do the photographing listing. My wife will measure clothing. So she measures stuff. She works at the library, so it's been a little bit getting used to that scenario because she never used to work. My job usually paid for us to be able to do that. And she can stay home and homeschool the children. And we homeschooled 2 of them, and she's working on a 3rd one. And my other kids are grown, and one just graduated with associate's degree in college in video production and editing. He's helped me a little bit with that. And then my daughter, she lives in Montana, and she's just working out there. She went to school and is deciding what she wants to do with life. And the other one's 7, and so we're homeschooling him. And so she does measure the clothes for me. She's learned how to do that. And she'll measure them, and she'll write them in this book. We have this notebook that we go through, and it has all the dimensions. I mean, a lot of details, like, you know, we got the inseam for pants. We have the brand. She notes if there's an issue with the pair of clothing, like if there's a mark or there's a fray, and she tells you how far it is from the bottom of the jeans. Like there's a mark 3 inches on the right leg. We put all that listing in the detail in the listings. And that's very helpful to me because I was trying to photograph a pair of women's, it was a dress, or I said, it was my daughter's, and I wanted to list it. I said, how do you describe this thing? Look at this. It doesn't even go straight. It's like curved, and it's got different things on it. I've learned a little bit about women's clothing, and it just, I will pick it up if it's high end and expensive, and I know a little bit about it. And I've learned a little bit about that. Most of clothing, I do a lot of men's clothing. Now I'll buy women's clothing if it's a good size and it's good brand. Pendleton, I pick up everything that I get Pendleton, and we can get Pendleton around here for nothing. Now there's something I had for a long time. I picked them up to resell when we lived in Gladstone. I've had them in a box for probably 4 years, maybe more. And I remembered them. I had 2 shirts that I got for $0.25 a piece at a garage sale in Kipling, which you probably have no idea where that's at. It's this little in the road between Rapid River and Gladstone. And they were $0.25. I said, I want to list those. And she knew where they're at. And she found them. One was Sue Woolen's company. They're not around anymore. And the other one was Travers Bay Woolen Company. Very old wool companies. I made $100 in each one of those shirts. I paid $0.25. I get stuff for $0.25 all the time. Here she goes. She's got one. Is that Sue Woolen's? Is that a Mackinac?
This one's a Sue Woolen. Yep.
What size is it?
This is
That's why we measure stuff so we can get the size.
I was gonna say it's in the listing, I'm sure, but I have a couple jackets and some. Oh no, I guess this is my only jacket that's left. I have the hunting pants as well. But
the
my
pants as
husband,
well.
my husband swears by these. Like he has his own set
Yeah.
that's all he'll wear for hunting. I mean, he has other layers, but like those are his lucky hunting pants or whatever. So yeah,
Okay.
I always pick these up when I see them.
Well, I got a pair of those at a thrift store in Engadine, which is another in the road, and I got them for $4. And the first time I sold them, now why did I say the first time? When they sold, and I told my buddy, my buddy got into buying storage lockers, which I haven't done yet. I have one I'm eyeing in Gaylord, but I don't know if I have a room for a 10 by 20, and there's a mattress in there. I don't want to deal with that today. But I got a pair of those, and it went to Kentucky, and my buddy's like, Kentucky, somewhere down south. He's like, why'd they buy them? I said, I don't know. I guess it gets cold for one day or something. They ended up returning them, and they paid the shipping and everything because they had fit. So I relisted them, and I did sell them for more than I sold them on the guy's offer. So it was a great deal.
Yes.
And it went to somewhere where the climate was more for that kind of wool.
Gotcha.
Not
I
Kentucky or
sold
Carolinas.
Right. I sold something like that to someone in Georgia, I believe it was. And same thing. Like, what are you gonna? So I asked the person, I'm just curious, what they were planning a trip, like a month-long hunting trip into whatever, and they were buying all kinds of stuff. And she's like, "Oh, I'll just resell it when we're done, but I'm just making sure we're ready." And yeah.
Well, one thing it's curious is I was in Rylander, Wisconsin, which is in north of 8 in northern Wisconsin. I was over there. I was going to a job interview, but I did a whole bunch of picking while I was there. And I went into there's about 4 thrift stores in there. One of them's Goodwill, so it's not very good there. But there's a thrift store, Christian-run thrift store or whatever. And I went in there, and the lady's like, "Well, it's bag day. It's $5." And I said, "Oh, okay." So I'm looking around. I picked up some a brand new vintage Tasmanian Devil T-shirt with a tag on it from the 90s. Put that in the bag. Looking around and picking a couple other things up. I get over to the jackets, and I'm like, whoa. Opened up the thing, looked at the jacket. It was a late 70s Wrangler denim trucker jacket.
Ooh.
And I'm like, goes in the bag, $5.
Yes.
And I had probably 8 to 9 things in there. And it's $5. Okay. So I got this, probably paid 80 cents. I think I figured it out was 80 cents for that jacket. That went to California. A lot of those vintage denim jackets go to California, like Vegas, or not Vegas, Los Angeles. And I always wonder, why are they going to Los Angeles? Then I thought about it. They're buying them probably for a movie. So am I going to see some of this stuff someday in a movie? I'm going to watch a movie and I sold my jacket. Because I sell a lot of old stuff. And so like I sold, this was a bad thing to buy. When I was just really, I used to just go out and find stuff because I'm going garage selling anyways. When I had to go out and source, there's a online auction in Bark River, Michigan, which is on the other side of Escanaba, which you probably don't even know where Escanaba is. It's over in the central UP. And so I went over there and picked up some stuff. There was this vintage, it's called a Polaron. It's a 1950s. It's a cooler. It's like like the old ice chest. It's all metal and everything. It was pretty beat up. it had a lot of patina, rust, but it was very cool. And I paid up a little bit for it. I had that thing for over a year. Some guy gives me an offer on Mercari, and I'm like, oh, thank God it's in sale. Yeah, I'm so happy. I cleaned the dust off it and I shipped it to him. It was really difficult to ship. It went to Los Angeles. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Because sometimes people will message me and say, we can't get stuff like this around there we live.
Right.
And so they buy it that way. That's like the guy with the neon sign. We don't find stuff like this here. Don't. If you want to find neon signs, go to auctions in Wisconsin. They're everywhere. They're all over the place because Michigan has some rules about bars. You can't I don't think you can put a neon sign in the window. Wisconsin, that's very common.
Okay.
Signs, all that stuff. I had also had some beer signs that were like Miller High Life. And they were animal depicted, dead deer on them. One had pheasant, I think, and I decided to sell them because I wasn't going to put them up. And I sold one of them, and I'm like, look at the address. I'm like, what? That's Rogers City. That's just down the road. So I decided I wasn't going to ship it. It's a mirror. I'm terrified.
Right.
I already shipped one of them, and I'm glad I got there. Thank God for noodles. I stuck those in there, and it kept it from being broke. It didn't go very far. I went back to Wisconsin. So I decided to deliver this to that lady in Rogers City. I didn't even put a tracking number in there. I haven't done that video yet. I'm going to get blasted. Like, you can't do that. eBay. I'm like, look, you want to go and take a chance on a sign? It's only going, an hour away. Go for it. I'm not doing it. So I delivered it, and I did pick it on the way. I just met some interesting people on the way there. Didn't find anything, but I delivered it, and the lady worked for the Michigan State Extension Office, and I videotaped the whole thing. I haven't put the video out. It's over a year old, just because I got so much content. I could never go to a garage sale for a year, and I would have still been able to put videos out. That's how much I got, because I just let the thing roll. And she didn't buy it for her. She bought it for her neighbor who didn't have. He liked Miller or something, and he wanted one of those signs. And she had the knowledge and stuff, and bought it. Another story about something, and she bought it for him. And she was so excited when I brought it in. She's like, "Oh yeah, you're the guy with the beer sign," and was so excited about it. So I'm not afraid to deliver something. Now, that weed whacker I had, I did sell it. I almost sold it. And the guy said he's in the Sioux. I'm like, well, he's going to pay me a little bit to deliver it in the Sioux. I got to go to my area. I go to a couple places. I'll use it as a way to go to do my errands. When I got there, I'm like, the GPS says, you'll be crossing the border. I'm not crossing the border with a weed whacker.
Oh, wow. Somehow,
I've been trying for months to get on one of these sites over in Canada on Marketplace. And you've got to be Canadian. You got to live here. And they wouldn't allow me. Well, apparently I got approved and I didn't realize it. So I listed on there, and the guy was in Canada. I'm like, I can't deliver it, man. I'm sending him a message. So I that's going to be a video called Failed Delivery. And I still made money on it. I paid $250 at the auction for him, and I sold the top of the thing for that for $35, and then I'll sell the weed whacker for scrap. It's a good money maker. But I had a failed delivery. And I also, the other thing that I have a couple of things I've done, I go picking over in Canada. I know Sam does a little bit, don't you? You go to Value Village?
Yep, and a couple other little shops over there. Yeah.
You know that Value Village doesn't allow videoing? We're walking in there, and
I videoed the whole time.
I have the camera on there, and it has over the speaker, it says, we do not allow photographing, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, wow. Oh, it's kind of late. I'm almost done. I'm leaving. And in the one instance, I'm trying to check out, and I actually hit the button that said Francais. I hit French, and I'm like, well, how do I get back? And it's all on video. It's like I can't get back. And eventually got back out of that window because
they're all self checkout over there.
Yeah, they're all self checkout. They don't have any humans anymore doing it. And picking at that store is a little bit. You got to know what you're doing. You got to think in your head. Okay, this is $9.99. What is that in exchange rate? And I've been shopping in Canada a long time, so I know the exchange rate. It's about 73 cents, 70 cents. It fluctuates between 75 and 73 cents. So you can take about 30% off that item.
I just tell my husband, babe, if we go to Canada, I get like an automatic 30% discount. So we should go over there and do that.
Well, there's another store. There's a St. Vincent de Paul over there. And by the door, I found out that by the next to the door, they have these T-shirts for $25. Well, when I went there, Lay's like, well, it's 50% off. I'm like, 50% off. I just bought so I get 30% off the t-shirt for a quarter plus 50% off. Why don't you just give me the t-shirts? You know?
Gracious.
Well,
random fact: there are no pennies in Canada. I know a lot of people don't realize that there's no pennies. They just round up or round down. They just make stuff up, really.
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah. Well, then the first time I went in that St. Denny's, I'd never been in that one. I've been to Savers or Value Village, Savers in the U.S. I guess there are some Value Villages in the U.S. in the West Coast. They had this. I can't say the name of it, and I still have it for sale. And if I don't sell it, I'll probably give it to my son. It's a stainless steel martini glass. And I paid 10 cents Canadian plus 50% off plus 30% off. So I paid like 2 cents. So keeping it listed doesn't hurt anything. But it's the stainless steel martini glasses are used when they make drinks with, and they put the nitrogen in them to make them like and free stuff. Because in the glass it would be shattered, it'd explode. I've never seen one. I think it's Cuisinox or something. It's the brand. It's a big brand. The other thing when you go to another foreign country like Canada, some of the things don't translate into the United States very well, like the brands, and you're not going to get Canadians to buy them because it's too expensive to ship there. So you have to know a little bit about what you're buying in order to do that. Now I got for was it $5.99? I think it was. There was a locally made cookie jar. I don't even remember what the theme was. I think it was a bear or something. I made a ton of money. I think I sold that for $60. Because it said where it was made, and Sault Ste. Marie, and it was a one of kind, and those are kind of things that people should look for, the one of a kind things, because some people are scared to do ceramics because they're worried they're gonna break. I double box them. I was doing some cups I got. They were some china I got for free along the road. It said free. I put the whole box in there. We shipped them from Gladstone to here, and we still own some of them. And I was doing the teacups, the coffee cups, and I dropped one. It didn't break.
Oh. Yeah,
I'm like, okay. And I said, my youngest son, I said, here, go across the room. I'll throw this. Isn't it glass? It won't break. And I dropped it again. Because I've never had anything break like that because I really double box it. Actually, I box it. I got some stuff this week from Amazon. There was no packing material in it. It's like,
I know. I just got my Amazon orders and I was like, this can go in the recycling. I can't even reuse this stuff.
Well, here's what I tell my buddy this, who's started selling on eBay, and he's probably not the best reseller because he tells people to get lost if they're bad deals and low ball offers and stuff, or they complain about shipping costs. He's not the guy for customer service, but he sells stuff because he gets it all out of lockers and stuff. I said, when you ship something, you got to encapsulate it. I think mummification. This thing has to last 1,000 years, and so you want to ship this thing so that. I was on a forum and I heard somebody talking about FedEx. I used to work at FedEx and we used to play football with this stuff that said fragile. I'm like, oh my gosh, are they doing that? Are they going long, doing 40-yard shots with my item? Probably. So.
I like the reference of mummification for that. I think that's a stellar way to put that. I want to.
You don't want the thing to break. You don't want the thing to break. You want it to get there. And so, you guys sell on. Some of you sell on Poshmark, or do you all sell on Poshmark?
We do. Yep.
Oh, so I ordered this. This is the only thing I ever purchased on Poshmark, and I bought it because of what it was. I'm a cat person, orange cats actually. I bought it on Poshmark, and when it came, it had all this stuff in there. Like there was a cat toy in there. There was a note. I have the note. Oh
yeah, they do all the extra little goodies.
Here's the note. I kept it.
Yeah.
Here's the note, handwritten note. I don't have time for that.
Do it.
You know what? I don't do that because my objective is to get the item to you as pristine as possible. And because I don't sell things that are consistent, yesterday
there's no replenishables.
Right.
Yeah, I shipped it yesterday. I shipped a Ninja pressure cooker top for an Instapot thing. That was on Poshmark. And then I shipped a Coca-Cola bag that was like a crossbody thing.
Okay.
And then a Bible. The Bible, because they only paid like $7.99. I put that in a foam, a bubble mailer.
Mm-hmm.
But if they pay, because I sell a lot of old books, and I do sell CDs. And I had a lady who bought a CD for me. She sent me a message. She goes, I couldn't believe it when I got it. I'm like, thinking, uh-oh. She goes, I've never seen anything packed that well. She goes, more people need to be like you. And I probably take more time to it. And I buy some materials. I buy bubble wrap now. I didn't used to because I thought, I'm not paying Mackie material.
Right.
I do buy some boxes because I get the eBay deal, the quarterly
Same.
thing. So I do that. But a lot of the boxes I get for free.
Yeah.
And there's I'm not gonna say it because I don't want Samantha to go there and get the boxes. But
I got my own sources down the street. It's fine.
There's a packing place. There's a packing place that does like shipping, I think, for Canadians and stuff, or they receive stuff. And they have great stuff in there. So I usually go there. And then a dollar store in Sault Ste. Marie is a good place to get boxes. I even did a short video on dumpster diving for boxes, and I'm gonna put that out because I like to get a lot of my stuff for free. Now, here in town, I usually go over to the Family Dollar, and then I get people. When I'm working for the bridge, I get boxes, and I brought some home last night and newspapers. But I usually go to the Family Dollar and get some boxes. Well, I went one day to get some boxes, and there's a TV in there. It's empty, just a Vizio TV in there, Hensei brand. And so I picked it up, threw it in the cart. Came home, took the legs off, sold them for $20.
There you go. There you go. I love it.
So I tell people to go pick the legs up. My buddy's telling people, drive by a TV, take the legs off. They're worth $20.
I love it.
Darcy, I want to throw a question at you as we wrap up, because this has been beyond educational and interesting in my book. I have learned so many things. And I cannot wait to watch some of these videos you've talked about. Again, I want to remind everybody listening, watching, make sure you go over and find Podunk Picker, and Libby will have things linked up in the show notes. But as we wrap this episode up, I want you to sum up what you are most proud of about your business.
There's a couple things probably. When I did my taxes last year, I did use Mark, the guy who was the YouTube channel.
Mark 2.
Yeah, that was a great thing because we did. It was wow. I couldn't believe how much we got back. It was awesome. And when we said and done, gross probably made $25,000. That was the first year I actually ran it as a business, not just I get so much stuff, I'm going to make extra money, and that's what I'm going to do. I was surprised how much we made. Did we make a lot of money? No, not really when you get net and everything, all the expenses. But we were ramping up some stuff. I had a lot of the things to make it successful, but I didn't have everything. And so I ended up having some expenses that were a little different. And so I was proud of that. It was a lot of work. I worked my tail off doing that. And then, I'd say, the other thing is that helps a little bit. Now, I don't know if I get customers from doing social media because most of what I do is entertaining. I don't tell you anything about how to do something. And the challenge with doing that is that I'm not sure the next person would do that. Because if I tell people cross list, I post in all kinds of videos. You want to be successful, cross list. I did. That was the best thing I ever did. Is back in July of last year, I said, I'm the cross list. Opened up the world. And, everybody, there's other podcasts. Oh, my 90-day total is. Now comment. I don't care about your 90-day total. What'd you sell on Mercari? What'd you sell on Poshmark? What'd you sell on Facebook Marketplace? What'd you sell somewhere else? Because that's really what it's about now. eBay is great. I love eBay. I love selling on there. But the reality is, if you don't diversify and sell other places, because I know I pick up stuff that won't sell on eBay, but it'll sell on Mercari. It'll sell on Poshmark fast. And I posted on eBay first, knowing that I won't sell it. And it won't sell there, but I use that to move it over. And I think that was the smartest thing I ever did. Does it take time? Yeah, a little bit. It takes time to do that, but it's part of the process there to get that stuff listed and get it out to people's eyes. Because I've learned that there are only people who shop on Mercari and they only shop on Poshmark, and that's all they do. And, so I think that was the smartest thing I ever did. The social media stuff, I just thought it'd be fun, and it is fun. It's some work, This is work, this is not easy to do a video. For me, it's 4 hours, maybe. My son's done a couple for me. And I told him, I said, the last video he did didn't get very many views. Then this other video he did about the World War II maps, oh, that did very well. And he said, you need to apologize to me. I said, I'll apologize because that was a good one. I still have a lot of those maps. These World War II maps I got in the estate sale this spring. We haven't even gone through them all. We're planning to do a video about it because it's very interesting. Because talking about story, this guy was in World War II. He brought him back. There's maps and all kinds of history, and I love that stuff. That is just so much fun.
So
If there's something I'm not proud of, it's not the fact that my house is an inventory location, and every door has clothing on it, and there's boxes behind me you can't see. I'd like to see some of that out of there, and a lot of people that ends up that way because as Sam will tell you, we have a harsh environment here in the winter, and so I need somewhere warm to work. And that isn't always easy to do. And so it ends up in the house a little bit. And it's been tough migrating it all back out to the garage. Because it's pretty full in there.
Well, it sounds like you've got a lot to work on when it gets cold and you want to be inside now. At least you've got those mountains.
Yes. Are there well, no, I travel a little bit. I've gone down to my sister's and I have gone to a Goodwill Bins down there I love. Then there's another Goodwill Bins I went to with my family that wasn't so good, where I got yelled at for videoing, and probably the most aggressive place I've ever been, where I'd never seen that kind of picking. I mean, they're jumping in front of you and taking everything and almost pulling stuff out of your hand. Grand Rapids, yeah, never going back.
Yeah,
never going back.
Nope. Michigan bins are not great.
The one in Muskegon is very good. I like that.
That's what you've said. I haven't been to that one.
And I want to go to the one in Flint. There's
it's not great.
She goes there.
Just come down south. They're good. We got some good ones down here.
I'm worried about going to like Florida because I don't know if I'm going to find big La Cucaracha in there, and I don't want to see that, or rats. I've heard rats in some bins, and I'm not going to a place with rats and roaches. I don't like either one of them. So I'm not doing it.
All right. Well, we got to get you out of here. I know.
Yes, I got to go do my day job.
Yes,
or actually night job now.
The way we end each episode is we grab our drink.
That's why I got my coffee.
To everybody, yes, and we say cheers.
Until next time, cheers.
Thank you for joining Libby, Molly, and Samantha, the ladies of Consignment Chats, as we build a resourceful community of collaborative resellers. This podcast is sponsored by ListPerfectly. To join our free private communities on Facebook and Patreon, and for all things Consignment Chats, visit us at consignmentchats.com.